Welcome to the School of Love, the place where miracles are normal. Hello and welcome to the School of Love, the place where we learn practical tools based on scientific research and our own experiences towards improving ourselves, living life to its fullest, and contributing to the best of our abilities to the world around us. I am Dr. Grajdian, and I am a professor of media studies and anthropology at Hiroshima University. In my free time, I am doing my best to guide you in building up a life of contentment, joy, and fulfillment while applying lessons learned in school to overcome the difficulties, challenges, and insecurities of the real world. Today's video is part of a new series on the changing world order and its impact on regular citizens like you and me. I have been reading Ray Dalio's book, Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order, published initially in November 2021, and it made me ponder on what it means for regular citizens like you and me that the entire world is undergoing dramatic changes, which we cannot influence at all, but which are crucially impacting our own lives and the future. In today's video on the changing world order and its impact on regular citizens like you and me, I share my thoughts on sexuality and the manner in which the concept of sexuality as well as the phenomenon of sexuality is changing itself under the pressure on individuals to continuously challenge and reinvent themselves. Enormously long life expectancies, unimaginable less than 4 or 5 decades ago, bring with them particular questions and preoccupations which have a huge influence on sexuality. So what precisely is happening and what can we, as individuals and as a collective, do about it? This video explores this question on a personal level. And now, first things first, that is the important disclaimers. The first disclaimer serves to strongly emphasize the fact that this YouTube channel, The School of Love, is not part of my educational and research activities at Hiroshima University. It is nonetheless part of my privilege, joy, and sense of duty to propagate and implement knowledge, information, as well as inspiration and motivation outside the limited framework of academic endeavors. Together, we can build up a better tomorrow for as many of us as possible. The second disclaimer relates to the fact that I am a trained musician and musicologist, not a psychologist, therapist, or counselor. The ideas I am sharing in my videos reflect my deep-going preoccupation with life, my own life and other people's lives, and express the results of my experiences, research, and for better or for worse, my failures, as well as my recovery from those failures, recovery which is still ongoing. The ideas expressed in the videos on this channel, named The School of Love, cannot and may not and must not replace the consultation with specialists in whichever areas of your life you might have questions or you might struggle with. If you are new to this channel, at this moment I would like to ask you to please consider subscribing, sharing, liking, commenting. Thank you very, very much. This helps us not only with that mysterious algorithm which seems to dominate the YouTube galaxy, but also with contributing to the expansion of the community of humans doing their best to impact positively the world and those around them by discovering their authentic selves and living life wholeheartedly. Thanks again. So, how does the concept and the phenomenon of sexuality change when the entire world is changing around us? So, from my observations, and they're actually both limited because I'm moving around in my own bubble of intellectuals and academics, but also diverse because I deal with all sorts of age groups and nationalities and ethnic groups. So I'll try to explain how, and also minorities. And so I'll try to explain what I have been observing and what general conclusions what one might draw from my observations. So back in time, actually my generation of citizens, future citizens, was educated with this very strict idea that sexuality is supposed to ensure reproduction, is a tool to reproduction. And particularly the women were educated and taught that sexuality is something bad and shameful, and God forbid one may not enjoy it. Yeah. On the other hand, of course, we know that for men, sexuality is very, very important. Yeah, sexual intercourse is one of the most important elements of their existence. Well, jokingly, I don't know if it's jokingly, but all these dating coaches, they stress the fact that there are three important elements for man: is sex, food, and companionship. And if asked to give up one of them or two of them, they would never take into account to give up on sex and the expression of this sexuality. And it seems, I don't know, I'm not a man, but from what I've read and observed, the way men express their affection is through their own sexuality, yeah, and sexual behavior. So we see up to my generation already, or as late, there is this divergence between what women were taught and educated and what men were taught and educated, and what the nature of man as biological beings actually is like. And this divergence was, maybe one could deal with it when people used to live very short lives, very short lifespans, yeah, 20 to 25 for the most part of human history. But nowadays, when humans are living much longer lives, things are going to change. They have to change. They are already changing. An important role will play in this women's ability to change. And I'm not a promoter, by no means, of promiscuity or promiscuous sexual behavior. What I'm trying to say is that unless we as women try to feel empathy with men and act compassionately towards them and towards their needs, this divergence will only increase, and well, men will find their own solutions, but I am sure we won't like it, or we won't like them. They already do, and we are just in despair. One further dimension of sexuality was that for, again, the most part of human history, it was directly connected to marriage, and women were educated and taught and kept very strictly at home, so that marriage was the important rite of passage towards becoming a sexual human, while men had access to both premarital and extramarital sexual activity through prostitution. It is the oldest profession of the world, and goes hand in hand with war as the oldest industry in the world. Not my words, not my observation. This is, I would quote Robert Greene in this concern, but it's not only him. It's kind of general knowledge nowadays that prostitution and war go hand in hand, and prostitution is the oldest profession of the world, and war is the oldest industry in the world, and trying to eradicate either of them will always backfire, and leading actually to an increase of the phenomena themselves. Again, not my words, not the result of my research, but there are studies attesting to this. So I think rather than complaining about the decisions men are taking in relation to sexuality in a world which is changing, and we cannot stop it, the best way of dealing with this phenomenon of sexuality and with the concept of sexuality is to actually adapt ourselves to the changing times and to move forward with them. It really makes no sense to cling to old models of behavior which were there to a certain degree to protect women, and also so to protect the bloodline, because of due to the notoriously promiscuous behavior of men, if they weren't bound by marriage to an open sexual behavior with a one woman, and then which resulted almost always, always in children born out of that wed relationship, so out of that marriage, they would then go and produce children with many women, and at some point nobody knows who the father is, and you have incest, and then children having the same DNA, the same genetic material, at least partially, if they combine them with themselves and produce further offspring, then this is already known, then this is not healthy. And what communities needed in pre-modern times were healthy babies for healthy continuation of the bloodline of that specific community, of that specific, anyway, over individual structure. So marriage was essentially invented to protect women, to give them a sense of belonging through the process of pregnancy and childbirth, and shortly afterwards, so that they can take care of the newborn baby, and for men to limit, at least temporarily, their notoriously promiscuous behavior, so that the danger of incest was reduced dramatically. Well, it wasn't reduced completely, but at least it wasn't that open anymore. And then they had, as a kind of additional opportunity to express their open sexuality, the prostitution. Yeah, so going to prostitutes was never really socially sanctioned. It was something accepted, generally accepted. It was part of the initiation rites into manhood, and it was accepted as such, both by society and by elders, and it was just a phenomenon within the community itself. This concept and phenomenon of sexuality is changing. I think the ones who are challenged to change more in this concern are women, because men are already doing their own thing. And if we do not join them in change, we will not be part of that change, and we already do not like what is going on. So I hope this helps. I hope it gives you some food for thought. And I'm looking forward, as always, to welcoming you very soon again. Love and peace to you all.